Welcome back to the Empire Sports of Mind podcast. I'm here with John as always. We have a lot to talk about. Week 1 results, week 2 previews for football. We're going to talk some Yankees at the end, and we're going to make our week 2 spread picks. John, take us away with the Monday Night Football result. Jets against the 49ers. What were your main takeaways? I mean, obviously it was a tough loss, but what do you think?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, opening up the season against the 49ers it's tough, right? I mean, best team in the NFL, arguably. Since Aaron Rodgers announced his intentions to play for the Jets, Matthew, it was like 500 days up to the date of this game. So obviously, we all know what happened. 4 snaps into the season, we saw him play there. But this was more anticipation built up. I was nervous. I was like, one of my friends always used to ask me, "Are you excited?" I'm like, "Get me through the first quarter, and then I'll be more excited." But he got through the first quarter. But you know what, Matthew? Aaron Rodgers, he was still slinging the thing. He was really still. His arm is still there. Mobility, not. I mean, look, he really wasn't forced to kind of like improvise because the offensive line was great this game. I thought they were great in pass protection, run protection, not so much. I think Brees Hall wasn't given that many holes in this game. I think like the yards before contact with him, the yards before the him passing line of scrimmage was like minus. It was not a good number for the Jets offensive line. Something they need to improve on in week 2. But this game was a total domination by the 49ers. The Jets were totally outcoached. We'll get into that later. But Robert Saleh he had no chance in this game. He was totally outclassed by a Hall of Fame coach. I'll say right now, future Hall of Fame coach, Kyle Shanahan. Out-schemed, outmatched, outmanned. The Jets just didn't look like they were prepared to play in this game. The defense looked good early in the first quarter, but then after that, it was wraps. I mean, it looks like the 49ers. I mean, Christian McCaffrey's out, Matthew, and you think that, wow, the Jets actually have a chance to win this game. But they made this guy look like he was prime Adrian Peterson out there. It was embarrassing. This guy had, he wasn't touched until 5 yards down the field every single play. It was disgraceful, and I think the Jets were totally outcoached.
Yeah, I mean, on offense, I think I didn't like the play calling on offense. I don't know if that necessarily all falls on Nathaniel Hackett, who I know we all have problems with because Aaron Rodgers, I would say 50% of the line is audibling at the line. Yeah. But the formula in this game was first down pitch. If they gain yards, they would pitch it again or run it again. If they didn't gain yards, they would pass. I mean, it was a very simple formula. I'm not going to necessarily – the offense wasn't great in this game. I thought Aaron Rodgers looked fine. That interception wasn't his fault. And even when Tyrod Taylor came into the game, garbage time, I thought he looked fine. Better than Zach Wilson ever looked.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to necessarily blame the play calls because ultimately Brees Hall had 21 touches. Right? That's supposed to be part of the formula for success. Garrett Wilson had 11 targets. He only held in 6 for 60 yards. So I thought they were doing some of the right things and trying to get their stars the ball. Obviously you could take away some good things. Allen Lazard, 6 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns, played really well. Other than that, Tyler Conklin didn't really contribute much. The offensive line held up well in the pass game. So I don't think there's really that much to take away from the offense. That's like there's a huge problem here. Like I thought they looked okay at some points. They didn't have any sustained drives except for the third drive of the game, which was excellent. But so it's a difficult thing to analyze, kind of what happened with the offense. But I don't know what your thoughts are. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, it feels like when I was watching the game, I feel like the offense was never on the field. I feel like the 49ers were just on the field the whole game, and it shows in the box score, right? I mean, it was what? Let's look at the time possession right now. It was 49ers had it 38 minutes, Jets had it 21 minutes. You just feel like they never had a chance. And look, there was some 3 and outs. Rodgers in a press conference after the game said there was too many 3 and outs. There was some unforced errors. Brees Hall with the fumble early on. I mean, that was just that Fred Warner just being Fred Warner, right? That was an incredible his signature punch out when he forced a fumble. He's an unbelievable player. Really, nothing you could do about that. Brees Hall's. I'm not really concerned. He didn't have a great game. Brees Hall did not have a great game, but it really wasn't his fault. The offensive line was not great in run protection, like I said before. But Matthew, some positives, like you said, Allen Lazard in this game looks pretty good. Outside of that first drive, the drop, that was kind of on brand from last year. And then when that happened, I was like, here we go again, the same old Allen Lazard from last year. But after that, he had a really solid game. Had that big touchdown catch from Rodgers from that free play. Had some big third down conversions there. Garrett Wilson had 11 targets, but Rodgers even said himself, we need to give him the ball more. That's what he said. I mean, A guy like that with that talent, you still have to maybe target maybe 16, 15 times a game. That's a target. But not being on the field that much, I guess that number makes sense. But the Jets run game needs to be better. I think the play calling overall needs to be better. I think Hackett did a terrible job. His playbook's like not from the 1930s. Run on first down, run on second down, and pass on third down. It's totally outdated. I think that Rodgers could change as much as he wants on line of scrimmage, but the basics of if you're going to run or pass the ball is on Nathaniel Hackett. I think it was absolutely. I mean, it was so predictable what they were going to do every down this game. It has to be better.
Yeah, I agree with that. And on defense, I thought the main thing was obviously the run defense couldn't get a stop for their life, and they have that all of those 10 defensive linemen that they carried onto the roster up front. So that was a little surprising. But the other thing that was surprising was the inability to get to the quarterback. And in this game, the stat book says they had 3 sacks. But I think maybe on all 3, but definitely on 2 of them were on design blitzes. Tony Adams had a sack, and Sauce Gardner had a sack blitzes. Natural pressure, bringing 4 guys, bringing 5 guys. They couldn't get to the quarterback. They couldn't even get really pressures. I don't think they got QB hits even at that. But so that was something that was disappointing. I didn't think I didn't really see Jermaine Johnson get there. Will McDonald. I don't even know how much Will McDonald even played. I mean, did he even play? I don't think I noticed.
Will McDonald had. I'm trying to look right now. I mean, I think he played a decent amount, right? Because Hassan Reddick still doesn't want to show up. That's a messy situation. I think that people will say, "Oh, well, he got paid so much this game," but like, if he's not going to show up, did he really make any money, right, Matthew? I mean, people always say, "Oh, he had a great night," but he's still not showing up. It's still week 2. He's nowhere to be seen. I don't even think he's going to be on the field. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's just such a messy situation. But Matthew, I mean, look, people forget the Jets lost John Franklin Myers this offseason. The Jets lost Bryce Huff to the Eagles this offseason. They replaced Bryce Huff with Hassan Reddick. He hasn't showed up. So that's 2 guys that they lost, and they didn't get anybody from last year. So I mean, that's a big thing. And they also lost Al Woods, a big run stopper last year. That was crucial for the Jets. They lost him. He's still a free agent. I would call up his agent right now and sign him back after seeing that run defense performance from Monday night, in my opinion. The defense line is not as good as people make it to be right now. I think it's the depth is missing there, and it certainly showed. I think that, they obviously could be better than this. I think the 49ers are great at what they do in scheming, getting people open, making some room for the run game there. But, it certainly has to be better, right? It's still a top 10 unit in the league, in my opinion, talent-wise. But the defensive line is definitely not as good as last year because they lost some key guys there. But I think Hassan Reddick is – look, the Jets always say, well, he's a luxury. If we get him, that's good. But our pieces are fine as it is. I think that's totally false. I think that he's not a luxury anymore. He's actually a necessity at this point. Jets have to get that done. They made them. I think they should just re-sign Bryce Huff, keep your own guy that you developed in your system. But they didn't end up doing that. They lost him to the Eagles. And they ended up trading for Hassan Reddick, who has not been a great move so far because you didn't do a sign and trade. I mean, I think they should have did that easily, but it's just not a good. Joe Douglas looks really bad in this situation, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. Doesn't make sense to trade for him and not extend him, or at least not have something in place. But one other thing on defense, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but I thought that they were targeting, of the 3 corners, obviously it's a great secondary, they seem to be targeting DJ Reed. That seemed to be the corner of choice for Brock Purdy. I don't know. I didn't think he looked great that game. A lot of the receptions, I mean, cornerback is one of those positions along with offensive line where if you don't necessarily notice the cornerback, it means he's doing a good job. Like he's not getting targeted. He's not making tackles. Probably means he's doing a good job. But I thought they targeted him in this game, and I didn't think he looked strong, especially against, not necessarily Deebo Samuel, but against Juwan Jennings or some other receiver.
No, yeah, look, that's totally fair. But I mean, when you have a pass rush that's not getting home to the quarterback, some of your secondary is going to be exposed, no matter how good it is. I do think that the Jets have the best cornerback room in the NFL. With Michael Carter, who they just re-signed, which I loved.
He played well.
Sauce Gardner. Oh, he played well. He played really well. Sauce Gardner did not allow. I think he allowed 1 catch for 1 yard, so he was phenomenal as always. Did come out of that game for a little bit, Matthew. I don't know if you noticed. He did come out of that game. He said that was just a little bit of it wasn't like an injury. It was maybe he was trying to catch his breath or something. Maybe he just got the wind knocked out of him. But that was a little bit of a concern there. He was out of the game for I think I don't know, maybe 10 plays in a row in one drive the 49ers have. A little bit of maybe not much of a concern there. But DJ Reed, you're right. I feel like he was the worst cornerback out of the 3 in this game. But when you have a pass rush that's not getting home to Brock Purdy, it's going to be a little, it's going to get beaten up a little bit, the secondary. It's not going to be perfect. Like the Jets are accustomed to. Like last year, they always got home to the quarterback, it felt like. And Matthew, I do think the Jets, they have to blitz more a little bit. They have to blitz more. You're going 4-man rush every play. You have this zone. You have to blitz a little more,
Yeah.
especially when your defensive line, when you're rushing guys like Holmes, when you're rushing guys like McDonald, who hasn't proven himself, when you're rushing guys like Javon Kinlaw, who's really not a great pass rusher. You have to blitz a little bit. Maybe, blitz Sauce Gardner, have him go on a cornerback. Maybe blitz Chuck Clark. Do a safety
Right.
blitz. You got to be more creative here. I think the Jets are too ignorant in their defensive scheming. They have to change that a little bit. I think that their defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, Robert Saleh obviously runs it. I think he's the CEO of that defense, obviously.
Right.
They have to be, willing to change their strategy a little bit, especially because their defensive line depth took a little bit of a hit this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Another guy who played well, Thomas Morstead, 2 punts
Oh,
inside.
of course, yeah. I mean, that's.
But as always, I think with that, I'm going to move on to the Jets preview this week against the Titans. I think it's I don't know that I keep seeing the Jets are on upset alert. You don't really know. I think one thing I want to see definitely out of the offense is like we said, they tried to at least get the ball to Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall, but get the ball to Tyler Conklin. I mean, he's a solid.
Yeah, and
has always been good with the tight ends, and you didn't see any of that week 1. I think
you didn't see that.
Crucial. Mm-hmm.
You didn't see that. I mean, because they weren't on the field. I do think that they have to get Conklin involved. I think they have to get Mike Williams involved. I know that he was on a pitch count. They said he was going to get 18 snaps. Yeah. He got 9 snaps, and I understand their offense wasn't on the field that much. Mm-hmm. But like, you signed Mike Williams to be your wide receiver too. I mean, I understand he really didn't practice all training camp.
But let me ask you something.
Injury, but
if he's ready to play 9 snaps, just 9 snaps. That's what he played. Most of them were kind of at the third quarter. Why isn't he on? Why was he active then?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fair point. I think this week they have to get him involved more. They have to get him involved more. Rodgers target him at least 5 times this week. Throw up some 50-50 balls. I don't know what, Matthew, the Titans, they have to win this game. I don't care what you say. You cannot start the season 0-2. Matthew, Aaron Rodgers has never started the season 0-2 in his whole career. It cannot happen tomorrow. If they go 0-2, the panic alarm is going to set in, Matthew. It's going to be what it's going to be, Matthew. The same old Jets conversation. The season's over. Patriots at home now. They might lose because the Patriots have not been, they haven't been successful against them in the past. The panic alarms are going to set. If they lose this game, rightfully so. They have to win this game against the Titans. They have Will Levis as their quarterback. You have to win this game. I understand the Titans. It's not going to be. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout because they're on the road. Titans have a solid defense. Apparently, they have a solid defense. Look, the line is Jets by 3.5. I think that's pretty fair. I think it's going to be within a touchdown this game, and the Jets had to come away with this victory. I don't care what you say, Matthew. If you want to be that playoff team, if you want to be that Super Bowl contender, which you're not there yet, obviously, you have to win this game. It's a must-win. It's a must-win.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, I think they have some guys on offense at times, but I think the bottom line is Will Levis. I mean, you don't know what you're getting. They have Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley. Some guys. I think the matchup that you have to expose is the Jets defense. The cornerbacks, they should match up well against these wide receivers, and ultimately, I think that's going to make the big difference. That's probably the Titans' strongest thing on offense. Their wide receivers, and the Jets' cornerback room, like you said, is the best in the league. So, I do think the Titans' defense is solid. I think that might be a struggle a little bit for the Jets' offense, but I think the matchup that they have to win this game is the Jets' defense, which should be one of the best in the league against a not so good Titans offense. So that's the matchup that they have to expose. Yeah. And we'll see. And they got to get the ball more, and they got to have some sustained drives, and that includes passing on first down. Well, they probably
absolutely. You have to do a play action on first down. Be more. I don't want to see a Brees Hall pitch on first down. I don't want to see a Brees Hall pitch on second down. Pass the damn ball on first down. It's absurd. It's so ridiculous. And I really, Matthew, I can see it. This game being a nail biter. I can see it coming down to the last drive. But I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about this game. I'm nervous because you can't start 0-2. It kind of is. And look, it's kind of crazy to say that week 2 already is a must win, but it's pretty close to a must win as you can get.
If you're a contender, it's hard to start 0-2.
You got to win this game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, if they lose this game, the season won't be over. But it will be heading down a bad direction, a direction you don't want to be headed for. I think it's going to be you have to win this game. If you win this game, Rodgers and Matthew, we didn't really talk about Rodgers. I think he looked really solid. Some rust, missing some short throws. The interception was not great, a little behind Garrett Wilson.
It wasn't necessarily his fault. Like it was. You
It
know.
wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was tipped up, but it was a little bit of a miss. He'll acknowledge that himself. The fourth down, and I think that third down to Garrett Wilson, he has to get his feet in, Matthew. What the hell was that? You have to get your feet in. You have so much space
No,
there
that was
in
terrible.
open
Yeah.
field. You have to get your feet in. If you're going to be a top receiver in the league, that's just that in my opinion. And I love Garrett Wilson. I think he's going to be great this year. That's a lazy play in my opinion. You have to get your feet in there. That's just not. It's not a good look. But then the fourth down throw wasn't great. He missed him a little bit. But look, Matthew, some rust. I'm not saying a lot of rust. Some rust, but his arm still look there. I think that the mobility is going to come. He's not going to be the same guy as he was, obviously, in his prime, being that big improviser. But I think he can still, work out of the pocket a little bit. But it's going to take some time. I mean, he still has to trust his body a little bit. I mean, that's human nature. You're not going to trust your Achilles right away. Tore it. I mean, it takes some time. I think he'll be fine. I think Rodgers is still going to be a top 10 quarterback this year, in my opinion. And I hope he looks good tomorrow, Matthew. I'm excited to watch him tomorrow.
The bottom line is he threw some good balls. Like, I think the potential is still there. He threw some really good balls.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he made Alan Lazard, who was basically a scrub last year, what was a healthy scratch at the end of the year, look really good. So maybe it's credit to Lazard, but I think it's credit to Rodgers. I mean, he put the ball in the right places. He knows what type of receiver Lazard is. I think he made some good throws. I didn't think he was entirely accurate, like you said. 13 for 21 for a pocket quarterback with the skill of Aaron Rodgers is not the type of day that he's accustomed to having. But I think he's going to be able to slot the ball. I mean, he had time. I agree with you. I think the best version of Aaron Rodgers, play action, get him moving a little bit. I mean, you hope he can move. I don't know how limited he is in that sense. I didn't see a lot of play action week one, but you want to get him on the move a little bit, and you want him to be able to also feel confident, step up, and make a throw, and not be afraid to get hit. But I think with the Jets' offensive line, he's going to have that confidence. So hopefully, it's a better.
You have to run some bootleg, Matthew. You have to run some bootlegs with him. You have to get him moving. I think the Jets were a little worried about. Obviously, look, I would be worried too, right? He went down 4 plays into the year. Obviously, you're not going to pull your full playbook out there first game with him back, but you have to. You have to get him out to be a little bit of an improviser. That's where he makes his money. That's where he makes his cash. He gets out of the pocket and throws on the run, right? You need that Aaron Rodgers, I think. And look, obviously he's probably not going to rush. Maybe what you're going to miss this year, he's not going to rush for 400 yards. He's not going to rush for 5 touchdowns. That's what you're going to miss. But he can still be that improviser outside the pocket. I still think he has that ability. And look, Matthew, you compare it to his MVP seasons, 2020, 2021. If he's 80% of his mobility in those years, he'll have a really solid year. Maybe not win MVP, but he'll have a solid year. I think he'll lead the Jets to the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed. With that being said, let's move on to the Giants. They faced the Vikings this past Sunday. What a disaster that game was. Didn't overlap with the Jets, so I don't know how much you saw of it, but I mean, that was just a struggle. It wasn't even a question of the defense or the offense. It was just overall. I mean, I would give every aspect of that game an F. And I think it's not like the Jets where the offense wasn't on the field, so you had no clue. I mean, Daniel Jones threw 42 passes, and they ran the ball 21 times. That's a lot of plays on offense. And in total, they got I think a total of 200 yards. I mean, 60 plays for 200 yards. What's that? 3 yards a play. Really bad. Daniel Jones looked like he was seeing ghosts out there, basically, against Sam Darnold. He could not step up and make a throw. I mean, we were just talking about it. Rodgers, step up, make the throw. Daniel Jones, I mean, he had no confidence. I don't know what you saw from this game, but there are not a lot of positives to take away.
I saw a quarterback that was completely lost in this game. I saw a team that was I saw a team that was outcoached. Now I know that they were look, the Vikings, they have some talent there. Obviously, they have the best wide receiver in the game. I think they have some other weapons there. Solid running back. They got Aaron Jones this offseason. I saw a Sam Darnold that looked like prime. That looks pretty damn good, Matthew. Best Sam Darnold. I think that was his best game in MetLife Stadium ever, right? That he's had, probably. He was dropping dimes in there. I think in some tight windows too, Matthew. It wasn't like these guys were wide open. He was dropping some dimes in tight windows. He looked really good that game. Daniel Jones looked like a guy that was a rookie quarterback, was lost out there, making some questionable throws. I mean, he could have had Matthew. He had 2 picks in this game. He could have easily had 4 or 5 with some of the decisions he's made in this game. He was abysmal. I mean, and I understand that Dable's not going to consider benching him after the first week. That's a little crazy. I know some reporters asked him after the game, are you going to consider giving Locke some first team reps in practice this week? It's a little too early to say that. I think that would be a little ridiculous. That would be a shot to his confidence, Daniel Jones, if Dable came out and said that at the press conference. But you have to consider it a little bit internally, giving some blocks to some of those reps, right, Matthew? I mean, Daniel Jones is not your guy. He's not your guy. Nothing's going to change it at this point. And look, the defense wasn't great. I think that they obviously, we talked about in our season preview, they're missing some talent there. But really, though, the offense they couldn't get, the defense couldn't get off the field. The offense was always a 3 and out. It was an interception. It was a turnover. They were always in the red zone. I mean, it was, they shot themselves in the foot all game. It was an absolute disgrace, in my opinion.
What I will say, too, is the defense forced an interception and 2 fumbles. It wasn't a matter of the defense not being able to get off the field, but rather the offense not being able to stay on the field, turning the ball over. And no, it was really bad. I mean, I think the quarterback in this scheme, it needs to be somebody that's willing to push the ball downfield. Just the way the team is built and just the way the scheme is. Think about it. You're coming from Josh Allen. Josh Allen can push the ball, we saw it against the Dolphins this past Thursday. He gets the ball to whoever. It doesn't matter who the receivers are. They lost Stephon Diggs. They lost Gabe Davis. He moves the ball downfield. He might throw some interceptions. And I think the Giants can live with the Daniel Jones interceptions, but he doesn't push the ball downfield either. Daniel Jones' signature throw is a 3-yard curl. It's not the cross. It's none of that. So the team is not schemed around him. And I don't know how much I can fault play calling because I saw Daniel Jones this game and he wasn't hitting the simple passes. So I would have no confidence in running real plays and plays past 10 yards the way he was throwing that ball. So people say the play calling is so bad. It's only sticks. What can Daniel Jones throw? I mean, what I will say was terrible was the wide receiver screen that came back for pick 6. You had God, 3 tight ends, and then you put the receiver Wan'Dale Robinson behind him, and everyone in the building. I mean, I looked at first down, whatever, second down screen, and the guy just jumps. So everyone knows that's a screen pass. It's such a short screen that the guy was able to pick 6 it. So I mean that Daniel Jones doesn't get the ball out quick enough. First of all, but second of all, that's a bad play call. And also 3rd and 2. There was one play early in the first quarter, 3rd and 2, and didn't have a running back in the backfield. What type of threat is that? Empty backfield. 3rd and 2, you have to do play action, let alone maybe not consider running the ball actually. And so to me, that play calling's that's not great. But there are a lot of bad things. I thought the offensive line, despite giving up 5 sacks, I actually thought they were much better. They opened up nothing in the run game. But Daniel Jones ran into at least 3 of those 5 sacks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was Matthew. I mean, Malik Neighbors said it himself. He said, I don't know what was going on behind there.
Yeah.
He said, that was funny to see. But, I mean, look, it's a disaster. I think this season is going to be a disaster for you, Matthew. I hate to say it. Matthew, you're playing the Commanders tomorrow, and that will lead us into our preview for this week.
Yeah.
You're playing the Commanders. I mean, this is the least attractive game in the 1 o'clock slate out of any game. It's so bad.
John, I will say the spread is so close that it might be a good game.
No, it's going to be a good game. Maybe it's going to be 9-7. Maybe you have a safety. Be 5-3. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be. I think it's either going to be. I think the Commanders have a chance to blow them out. I think Jaden Daniels is a solid. I mean, look, against this Giants defense, he has a chance to put up some good numbers. But I mean, look, Daniel Jones. You're playing against a defense. I mean, I think the Commanders actually have a good defense. I'm trying to talk about Daniel Jones playing a good game. They have a solid defense with all the guys that Dan Quinn got from the freaking Cowboys, right, from the last year. So Daniel Jones is not going to have an easier task this game. You're playing an absolute dump of a stadium. I don't know, man. I think the Giants, you have to keep this game close, man. I think the goal is, look, you have to win this game, but you just can't get embarrassed against it's going to be a close game. It's a division game. They're always close. But Daniel Jones has to put up a better performance here. I mean, really, it's the Commanders.
And it's a shame. It's a shame because I think actually the wide receiver room, when we talked about it, I think it's one of the more underrated. I don't think it totally sucks. I think you have pieces there.
No.
To me, if you have a competent quarterback, Malik Neighbors is Rookie of the Year. I mean, even what we saw with Daniel Jones, I mean, he's still a good route running. 5 catches for about 65 yards. I mean, I thought he had a solid game. He just didn't get thrown the ball enough. He's going to make big plays. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, he gets open. He's a good slot guy. 12 targets. I think that's indicative of the fact that he can get to the sticks and get you first downs. They totally misutilized Jalen Hyatt. He's supposed to be a speed guy, a burner, a guy that can run go routes, incredible speed. And totally misutilized. I mean, you see, even with the Chiefs, this guy Xavier Worthy, this guy can't run routes. This guy, I mean, he's 150 pounds. He can't run block. He doesn't do any of that. But the Chiefs utilized him immediately, week 1, as an impactful gadget guy. Throw him out there a few snaps, go routes, get him the ball on like a jet sweep, open space, use his speed, and you don't see the Giants doing any of that. So I thought that was a shame that they didn't utilize him correctly, because that's a guy that even in college put up great stats and has great speed and is probably a better route runner than somebody like Xavier Worthy, a little less speedy, but he's totally capable of running a go route. And if Daniel Jones can fire that ball in the right place, I think he'd make some big plays.
I know, it's such a shame. You have Robinson, who was drafted in the first round, Neighbors, who was drafted obviously high this year, and Hyatt, he was selected in the first round, right, Matthew Hyatt? Third round. But you have all these guys that have talent, and it's just so sad to see them being wasted. I think that actually Randall Robinson, I don't think he has great hands. He does drop some balls there. I did see that.
I think he's a good route runner, especially out of the slot.
Good route runner. And a shifty, fast guy who you can get involved other than the pass game. You can jet sweep game. You could get him the ball in other ways.
Exactly. He ran the ball, I think, 10 or 12 times last year to like great success.
Yeah. And even Hyatt for that matter. Maybe not Neighbors, because he's going to be your guy that's actually going to go out in the passing game, but guys like Hyatt and Robinson, you have to get them involved in other ways. They're just not doing it. And Matthew, what the hell? What do you have to lose? You lost this game 28-6. What do you have to lose trying to get these guys the ball? There's nothing to lose here.
No, nothing.
It's just absolutely disgraceful. I think Singletary he didn't have much room to run.
No, but, I mean, he's not a great running back either. So what am I supposed
to say? Look, he's average. He's an average running back. If you're not going to give him the space, he's not going to make some more steps, because if he's just an average guy. He's a guy that's like a placeholder.
The other thing, that's the Giants pass rush. I mean, that's supposed to be a big strength of this team. And
I didn't see Burns at all. I think Burns was totally neutralized.
Dexter Lawrence. I mean, obviously one of the best in the game, and you expect that from him. But they just paid Brian Burns $30 million a year.
Where was he?
12 sacks last year. And they were invisible. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau, the time I noticed him was he had a crucial face mask penalty in the second quarter. Brian Burns was fully invisible.
This is when Thibodeau has to step up, though, because you have Dexter Lawrence that defenses are going to be paying attention to. You have Brian Burns, who just signed to big money. Defenses are going to be paying attention to. They're going to double team these guys. Thibodeau has to step up here. He's going to be in single team most of the point in the game. He has to step up if he's this really truly gifted player. A great pass rusher that he put up a good season last year. This is time for him to take the next step. He has guys that are going to take attention away from himself. He has to step up. This is the time. If it's not now, he's not going to be anywhere. I don't think he's going to go anywhere, in my opinion. I think he has to step up here. He didn't step up this game. Him, Burns, Lawrence had a good game, but him and Burns were absolutely invisible. It's a disgrace, because these guys are supposed to be a great 1-2 punch. They weren't anywhere to be seen. Darnold had all day. He could have a cup of coffee in the pocket for all we knew. He had so much time in the pocket. It was
totally. And then Kayvon Thibodeau was asked after the game, what happened with the pass rush, and he said, "Next question." No accountability. Nothing.
I mean, come on now. That's ridiculous.
Inappropriate. Yeah.
You can't say that. You can't just say, you answer that question I think it's pretty simple. You say, we have to be better. That's on me. You put it on yourself. You have some accountability. What next question? That's your job. You're not the next question. If I were the reporters, I would walk out of the locker room. Say, all right, goodbye. You're not going to answer any questions.
That is the only question. What other questions are you asked?
What other question are you going to ask? What breakfast? What do you have for breakfast this morning for the game? What other questions you have to ask the guy? To be honest, I mean, it's crazy. We know Thibodeau is not a good. I think he's not the brightest guy. He's not the brightest bulb in the room. Neighbors not the brightest bulb in the room. Right? I mean, we know that they're not going to concerns. They're not media trained as well, to be honest. There's some character concerns. But that being said, he has to be better and maybe take some accountability, because it is annoying. And it's especially when you get crushed 28-6, it's not what you want to hear as a fan. It's definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth for sure.
Yep, agreed. I think that covers it for the Giants. We're going to move to a quick Yankees segment very quickly. We're going to talk about what we've seen for them as late. I don't know what you see. I think the biggest question surrounding this team is, we know what the lineup is going to be in the playoffs. I mean, we know it revolves around, I'll just go around the bases. Rizzo at first, Torres at second, Volpe at short, third, Jazz at short, Wells behind the plate, in the outfield, Soto, Judge, and probably now Dominguez with Stanton at DH. We know that's the lineup. I don't think there's much to talk about there. To me, the interesting thing is who is going to be in this, of the 6 starters in this 4 or 3-man playoff rotation, and who's going to be the closer. So I don't know your thoughts on that. I have mine, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to go with Cole, obviously, as your race. I'll start with the rotation here. and that's a big thing. I mean, they just moved Stroman to the bullpen. That was just revealed by Aaron Boone the other day.
Right.
Cortez, he went to the bullpen. Now he's a starter again. I really didn't get that, to be honest. I do think moving Stroman to the bullpen is a good idea. I guess I don't really love him out of the bullpen though. I guess I wouldn't put him in a close game in the seventh. Matthew, you really want him in the seventh inning in a 2-2 tie? I mean, I don't want that happening. Put him in a game where you're up 3-0 and you need 2 innings out of him in the middle of the game, I guess. But I guess you go with Cole as your ace. Second starter, I would go with Luis Heel, rookie, obviously AL Rookie of the Year favorite there. I think he's going to win if he has another 2 good starts. 3-man, I would go Clark Schmidt. Looks pretty good last night. 2 starts since he came back from the IL. He looks pretty good against the Cubs. He looked pretty good yesterday. I would go with him as a 3-man. And the 4th man, you go with Rodon, who you paid a big chunk of money to. That would be my 4 guys in the rotation.
Look,
maybe not in that order, but those 4 guys, I think.
I'll tell you my thoughts. I don't think Rodon's earned one of the top 4 spots. I understand he's getting paid $30 million a year, and I know that the Yankees are stubborn, and he is going to be one of those 4 guys. Yeah. But honestly, given the choice between Cortez and Rodon, I think the stats kind of back this up. I would pick Cortez. To me, Rodon, in the playoffs, he's not efficient out there. He walks guys. I don't know about the efficacy of his other pitches besides his fastball. To me, Cortez uses a lot of pitches. He's more efficient. He doesn't walk batters, and he gets outs. I mean, even Cortez is more likely to give up 5 runs in a game, but he's also more likely to give you 6 innings with 1 run or 6 innings, 2 runs. To me, Cortez has earned that spot over Rodon. There's no question Cole's in that, the number 1 guy. I would keep Heel in the rotation just based on how good he's been, but I think of the starters, he'd be the most electrifying, obviously in the bullpen for obvious reasons. Yeah. And my 4th guy, I agree, would be Clark Schmidt. I think what you do with Stroman and Rodon, then those are my 2 bullpen guys, is very uncertain. I don't feel great about either of them coming into a close game, like in the 5th or mop up. Either could be fine as mop up, like no starter gets shelled, bring him in, and obviously you hope that doesn't happen in the postseason. But I think honestly, in terms of who the best guys in the bullpen would be, I think it'd be Cortez and Heel. But I think those guys have earned starting jobs, so it's a very difficult thing. But I would feel comfortable with Cortez for 2 innings. That's like a
Matthew, you're comfortable with Cortez for 2 innings. Maybe you consider him being an opener for Rodon. I mean, that could be a thing. Maybe you do 1
or
game
an opener for Schmidt,
and then Rodon.
Open
up for Schmidt.
Right.
Schmidt maybe, I mean, coming off the injury, maybe he's not going to pitch as many innings as you would like him to pitch. You open up. I think Cortez as an opener could be a pretty good weapon. Because Matthew, we see with Cortez, big stats first time through the order, good stats second time through the order. When it comes to the 3rd time through the order, he sinks. I mean, the stats.
And same with so maybe it'd be beneficial to get both of those guys 1 time through the order. Both those guys.
I think that you could piggyback them. Maybe Cortez and a Schmidt, and that would be. I think that would be big. They have to be. But you know, Matthew, the Yankees, they're not that innovative. We are what our thinking is right now. They're not going to even think about that in the conversation rooms that they have. I mean, it's not going to happen. We have to be realistic. They're going to just throw out their 4 guys. They're going to put the other guys in the bullpen, and they're going to use them in random spots they're not accustomed to, and they're going to get shelled. I don't know. And maybe it's a good thing to have these starters. It's a good problem to have. Some good discussion with who your 4 guys are, because that means you have more than 4 guys. I guess it's good. You could use them in other ways, but I just don't trust the Yankees' decision making. I just don't trust it. Mm-hmm. Is that fair to say? I just don't trust it.
Well, to me, I think you're right. It's 6 guys that are MLB caliber, but to me, it's Cole, who's a number 1, obviously Cy Young last year. And
not today, but not today.
Yeah, not today, but a bunch of 4s. I would say nobody there's really a 2, or maybe some guys are borderline 3s, but a lot of 4s. And we'll see what it leads to. But I feel comfortable with Cole. But honestly, when you have 6 guys like this, and you're starting in an ALDS, you're starting 3 guys practically. To me, these guys got to have short leashes. Besides Cole, this guy doesn't have his stuff. Get him out. I don't care if he pitches the scoreless first 2 innings. If he doesn't have his stuff, get him out. You have to win these games, and the Yankees never managed to win in the regular season, which is part of the reason why in the playoffs, like these big philosophical shifts suddenly where Isaiah Kiner Falefa's not the shortstop. He's been the shortstop all year, like 2 years ago. It doesn't make sense. So I want to see that. Honestly, I want to see it like now. Is Stroman going to be the relief guy in the playoffs? Because I want to see whoever's going to be the relief guy in the playoffs be the relief guy now. So we'll see. On the reliever front, I'm comfortable with Luke Weaver. as the closer. I think he's better than Holmes. I don't think he's a great closer, but I mean,
it's gonna kill them in the end. It really is gonna kill them. You don't have a guy that's established himself as a closer throughout the season.
Mhm.
It's gonna show in the playoffs, Matthew. I mean, you have to have a guy that's a swing and miss guy, sure thing, who's accustomed to this role and has been pitching in this role throughout the season. You don't have that right now. You have a guy like Luke Weaver.
But
I like him as a pitcher, but I don't love him as your closer in the playoffs. I don't like any option as your closer in the playoffs, to be honest with you.
No,
it's gonna bite you in the play. It's gonna bite you, and I hope it doesn't. I hope it, obviously works out. But I don't trust this closer by committee type deal here. I really don't. And it's worked so far with Luke Weaver. He's been solid so far. I think yesterday he was phenomenal, right? He got like a 2-inning save or something like that, 3-inning save.
2-inning save, yeah.
That was great. That was phenomenal to see. But Red Sox are not a team that you're going to be facing in the postseason. You're going to be facing a team that has some daunted hitters, some guys that that are feared, and you need some swinging. Matthew, you need some swing and miss. I will die on this hill. You need a swing and miss closer. Yankees don't have it. I'm definitely concerned. In that ninth inning, I would be very concerned when they're up by 1 run in the playoffs.
Pop quiz for you. Which 2 Yankee relievers have the lowest ERA with the team?
It's Luke Weaver. Luke Weaver's one of them, right?
No.
Wait. It's going to be Cousins.
No.
Hill?
Tim Hill, yep.
Another reliever. Is it who the heck is it? It's not Leiter, obviously.
Leiter.
Is it Holmes?
No. Holmes is up to 3.3. It's Canely.
Oh, it's Kane. And another guy I don't trust,
Canely.
Matthew.
But neither of those guys, I mean, those guys have good stats, but neither of those guys, and I think you were just about to say it, you don't trust either of those guys kind of in a closer playoff spot.
Oh, Canely. Canely has to be the furthest away from a closer. That guy is so predictable. I don't want to see him as a closer, Matthew.
No.
It's
change-up.
It's change-up. I mean,
just to be clear, I'm just pointing that those guys have the lowest ERA, and you don't want them as closers. I think you have a fundamental problem.
No, you absolutely do. You have a bullpen that's just not – it's not feared. It's just not feared. It really isn't. You have a starting rotation that has a lot of depth, not that top heavy, but has a lot of depth. Some options there, some strategies to be decided for the playoffs and how you're going to do. Some openers, like we said. But bullpen, that's their weakness. It's a big weakness, and it's likely to hurt them. I hope it doesn't. But yeah, the bullpen is not something that's a strength of the team for sure.
Well, we'll track it, and in our future episodes, we'll continue talking about the Yankees, especially as the playoffs roll around. But now let's move on to our last segment on our picks.
Oh, boy.
Cue the music. We're going to give
I'll cue it, yeah.
Our 2-pointer, our 1-pointer. For context, last week I scored 5 points. My 2-pointer. John hit on just his 2-pointer. We both missed on our Jets-Giants 1-pointers, and I don't have our other picks pulled up. But we'll make our picks this week.
All right. For my 1-pointer, I'm going with a team that entered my survivor pool last week. Not going with them, but the Patriots. What a disaster for the Bengals. I mean, how do you lose this game? You killed me out on $30. There's only 6 teams left in my survivor pool that I started myself. I'm already out by week 1. It's a disgrace. There's always next year, Matthew. There's always next year. But I'm going with the Seahawks. Look, Matthew, there was a way for me to hate the Patriots more. It happened last week after they ended my hopes and dreams in the survivor pool. And I'm going against them this week, in spite of them winning last week. Screw them. Seattle -3. In New England, I think the Patriots have a good shot winning this game. I think it's going to be very low scoring. Seattle did not look good last week. But they're favored by 3. Geno Smith's going to go in there into Foxborough and defeat the Patriots and win by more than 3 points. I have Seattle covering -3 for my 1-pointer.
Yep, I also have that as my 1 point. We did pick these independently, but as my 1-pointer, I agree with a lot of what you said. The Patriots winning last week probably, cuts this line by 3 points, probably.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the Patriots are not a good team. They won that good game, but the Bengals played really poorly. I think Seattle can move the ball up and down the field. Some good receivers, good running back, and the defense is not great, but the Patriots' offense is no good either. So, I'll the Seahawks cover.
All right, for my 2-pointer, we're going to Sunday Night Football. Bears-Texans. Caleb Williams, Matthew. I don't know if you know, but I've never been a huge fan of Caleb Williams. I've always said he's going to be a bust. I know that's a lot there.
Remember that.
I don't like him. He didn't look good week 1, but they ended up getting the win They ended up getting a win against the team that the Jets are playing. I wish the Titans won that game, so they don't have as much pressure this week, Matthew. I hate teams coming in with a bad loss because it's not good. They're going to be hungry, but Bears ended up winning that game. I think the Bears were down 17-0 at one point. The special teams carried them. Caleb Williams did nothing for them to win this game. He did nothing. And I think against a team like the Texans, a quarterback like C.J. Stroud in Houston, they're 1-0 already. They're going to be fired up to win their home opener. I think they're going to cover the spread. 6.5 it is. I'm hammering Houston minus 6.5.
Yep, my 2-point pick is Vikings at home against the 49ers. I have the 49ers covering. They're favored by 4.5 points. I think just because the Vikings beat a terrible Giants team last week, it doesn't mean anything. The 49ers beat a good Jets team, and by more than 4.5 points. The Jets are better than the Vikings, I think. So by the same logic, 49ers will beat the Vikings. 49ers still have a lot of weapons. Doesn't matter if Christian McCaffrey's out because Jordan Mason looked great, maybe against the bad Jets run defense. But a lot of weapons for the 49ers. Trent Williams back, Brandon Ayuk. And I still think even without CMC, they're still full staff.
Yeah, that's a good pick, Matthew. That's a really good pick, but we'll see. If Sam Darnold's throwing some dimes, Matthew, maybe it'll end up being wrong, but we'll see with that. My 3-pointer, I'm going with the Buccaneers against the Lions. They're on the road in Detroit. The Lions, look, they went to overtime. There was a good Sunday night game last game against the Rams. Good game. They didn't look great. I think the Rams are a mediocre team at best. They didn't look great. Buccaneers, on the other hand, Baker Mayfield threw 4 touchdowns this game. I think he looked really solid. Mike Evans, still that guy, the old reliable Mike Evans, still looks like the same guy in his prime. I'm taking the Buccaneers, maybe not to win this game. Only 7.5. I understand Detroit's at home. I understand their home crowd is fired up with the 1-0 start. I understand that they have a good home crowd. But 7.5, a little too much for me. I'm taking Buccaneers plus 7.5 against the Lions in Detroit.
I love that. I actually do like that. It's a way too big of a spread. I should pick that. But I love my pick even more. Write this down. Chalk this up as my favorite pick ever in the spread pick. Rams even away against the Cardinals. I don't know what's going on with the spread. I watched the Rams on Monday Night Football play really well against a Super Bowl favorite in a Lions team. And I think the Rams, Matthew Stafford's a tremendous quarterback, really still underrated. I think he makes insane throws and he really elevates receivers. Cooper Kupp was not Cooper Kupp until Matthew Stafford came along. Puka Nacua, 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, was nothing without Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford really made him look great last year. And even this guy last week, Tyler Johnson or something like that name, looked excellent against the Rams. I have the Rams over the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are a bad team. I know they played okay last week against the Bills. I think the Rams are a sneaky team to make it to the playoffs. I think they have 10 wins. So I'll take the Rams.
All right. Look, Matthew, the Cardinals last week, they did give the Bills a run for their money. They were up in that game. Looked like a potential upset alert. Murray didn't look bad. But, I see where you're going here. I think the line being even is not – I think, look, it's pretty tempting to pick the Rams there. But I do think the Cardinals can give a chance to run for their money. But we'll definitely see. That could be a really good game in the early slot there.
That's probably the best game.
You're probably for all we know, you're probably going to get 6 points this week. I'll get like 2. I didn't pick the Jets, so I didn't curse my team. I can't pick the Jets. Every time I pick the Jets, they always lose.
That's a curse.
I don't think I'm going to do that for the rest of the year.
We don't do any of that, yeah.
Not going to do that for the rest. I'm not touching the Jets for the rest of the year. It's not going to happen. Absolutely not.
All right, well, that covers it. We kind of got to everything rather quickly, which was a little surprising, but
yeah.
No, it's going to be a big week. We'll break down the results of this coming week. No, and John, anything else you have to say?
No, just Jets. Jets. We need a win tomorrow. We need a freaking win.
And good news, in less than a month, we have the Rangers opening day, and then we have the Knicks opening day. So we're going to have a lot to talk
coming up.
Sports Equinox. You got to follow us. You got to subscribe because a lot of content's coming your way.
We have some backup, Matthew. The Giants go 0-2 and the Jets go 0-2. We have some other sports on the way. So we're definitely coming.
MLB playoffs. Yep. Everything else. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but it doesn't. Right. So, all right. Matthew, great episode as always. We'll see you guys in the next one.